Hello, how are we? Welcome back to the Backyard Basketball Podcast.
Liquid smoke.
Presented by the Ordinary Podcasting Network. I'm Braden Dalla Coltman. I am here with Christian Steck. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. How are you today?
Good. We just tried 3 times recording this, and we've been having some lagging. So here we go.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed we don't lag, but if we do,
it is what it is.
We're still here. We're not drinking Ardbeg tonight. We're drinking. What are you drinking over there, Chris?
I'm drinking some root beer.
Yeah, what kind of root beer?
Some mugs with the what is that, a pit bull? What kind of?
It's a mug. Is that? That's a mug. That's a mug dog.
That's a mug dog.
Yeah,
with mug root beer, and it says no caffeine on it. But I'm feeling jazzed.
It's all the lagging,
and I don't want to talk about the Jazz, but I'm feeling jazzed.
Should we talk Ben Simmons?
Yeah, we could.
No, come on. What? I really thought I was gonna get that. Yeah, I thought that was gonna be a resounding no.
I actually had a buddy just recently here who's been listening to our pod.
Okay.
And he was telling me, I can't remember exactly what he said. It was something like fucking Ben Simmons or not Ben Simmons again or something like that.
Nice.
So he himself was, I think, even getting a little.
Well, on that note, let's talk a little bit about Ben Simmons.
He's meeting with a therapist or a psychiatrist or somebody.
Yeah, he's taking the steps that are needed. And that's pretty much it. So the next conversation, it's good.
Do you think the person? Well, hey, you know what? Regardless of whatever he's going through, I'm full in support of that. I'm full in support of like mental health and getting the help that you need. And we all go through our trials and tribulations, our ups and downs. But it's just funny. Like they were like, it has to be from the 76ers organization. And it could maybe be a third party or whatever that they're invoking that he meet with. Because the whole purpose is so the 76ers can be in on Ben Simmons' progress,
they're
right?
Trying to provide him reresources, right?
Well, and to, get some movement happening on this. If this is what he's struggling with right now, of course they want him, and they care about him and want him to do better. But like, they want to be involved with him. You're part of this organization. There's this weird dichotomy of organization and player. In some systems, it's really helpful. In other systems, you can look like it's very abusive. But I feel like I wonder always in the back of my head if like, this psychiatrist or somebody who's like talking to Ben Simmons and he's part of the Sixers organization. They're the one that they approved. He's like under some guys, like some 76ers wizardry. And he's like trying to hypnotize Ben Simmons into like coming back on the Sixers and playing and hitting maybe
it's actually Doc Rivers like in a wig and costume. Like, hello, Ben Simmons. I hear you've been having trouble shooting the ball and
Ben Simmons. We know what you need.
All right, so I am going to end the conversation there because there is not much more to say other than the fact that he's going to now continuously be fined for every single day in practice that he is not with the team. Period. We didn't talk anything about the WNBA, but rest assured we will do our due diligence and make sure that the WNBA is just as important and a part of the conversations as the NBA on this podcast. So we didn't touch on it during the playoffs. We were just getting going. Rest assured, you're gonna
shout out Candace Parker though.
Oh my gosh, what a story! What a story!
She's awesome.
She's a legacy. So awesome. But we will return to the WNBA. Our next subject is a lot more serious. So Robert Sarver, owner of the Phoenix Suns, has had a history of using the N-word to describe players, and he has been quoted by individuals as being racist and using inappropriate language and behavior. We saw this thing happen with Donald Sterling of the LA Clippers, almost 10 years ago? How long was that now?
I think 2012.
And here we are again. So it's still within the organization. And what's next? Like Adam Silver has to get he has to get on board with what, I mean, he is on board with what this is, but this man, this can't stand, this can't happen. And this can't happen in a league that is already so vocal in terms of getting rid of this kind of behavior. What are your thoughts here, Chris?
I think it's a couple things. I just want to point out too, right before we dropped here, starting our pod, there was a news report that just came out about like 30 minutes ago. You want to hear it? It involves this.
Yeah, I do.
So the wife of Suns owner, Penny Sarver, contacted former team staff in wake of report. And some of these staff members feel that these texts or whatnot that the wife sent to them are layered with some level of kind of threatening them. They feel threatened.
Oh dear.
By these texts. So Penny Sarver, the wife of Phoenix Suns majority owner Robert Sarver, who we're talking about right now, contacted 3 former team employees following their involvement in a recent report alleging a sometimes hostile and toxic workplace culture during her husband's 17-year tenure with the team. This is what she says. If something happens to one of my children, I will hold you and former Suns head coach Earl Watson personally responsible, Penny wrote to a former staffer in the message confirmed by ESPN Baxter Holmes. Think about your own child for a second and imagine the tables turned. It goes on.
What? Tables turned? Tables turned? Does she not see this, that she's on the other side of this table?
These are spoiled people. Okay. So that's the first thing I want to point out is that Robert Sarver was gifted a bank from his father. His father, had nothing, made a success for himself, and then gifts his son a bank. And so right off the get-go, this guy just, has lived a very privileged life, incredibly privileged. And his wife in parcel have also experienced a really comfortable life and lifestyle for themselves. And they've been part of the Phoenix Suns for 17 years. And I don't know. I don't really have any sympathy because of the spoiled negligence, honestly, that I feel like there's these behaviors that were discussed in the, this is an investigation, by the way. And now I think there's going to be, because of this initial report, a third party separate investigation.
Okay, good.
Into, just this workplace environment. And he was doing things like sharing a phone of, I don't know if it was his wife or some employee's wife around the table, and they were objectifying one's respective wife. So there's been sexual discrimination. Of course, all this racial profiling and discrimination that, has happened. The difference between this and what happened with, our Clippers
Donald Sterling. Yeah.
Sterling. Mm-hmm. Is that we had actual audio recording of him saying the thing. We don't have any hard evidence. So it's going to be interesting to see, honestly, how a third party handles this and how the rest of the NBA handles this, including Adam Silver. Like this brings me to, I think, a bigger just reality that I think the rest of the owners amongst the league and the NBA, and maybe even another type of league, say like the NFL, could be looking at an instance like this, with a lot of caution, because when you open up, this avenue and in these position of these owners, where it's just kind of this thing that exists and permeates in the league. And, there's moments where you bring attention to it, and there's moments you just know this presence of power just exists. And, we've heard about incidents here recently in the past few years with the Dallas Mavericks and, some of these other teams around the league. And I wouldn't be surprised that the vast majority, not to the extent of what we've seen here decried from Sarver, but, maybe to some extent in every single one of these organizations. And that gives maybe to a bigger point in question when you're talking about power politics and the position of power within our society and how it more often than not gets abused time and time again. And there's certain incentives that individuals in a position of power will work to kind of maintain that. So, I don't foresee, a further exploration amongst the other owners in the league to make sure that there's a certain status quo that's held, unless there's, say, a revolving series of incidents that present themselves amongst various different organizations. This always seems to be like a reactive place. So something happens and then we work from a reactive state. I don't think there's going to be any pre-active motion because of this incident throughout the rest of the league. And that's just unfortunate.
Why do you think that? And why can't that happen?
Because, a lot of owners are like, shame on him, but don't go looking in my closet.
Shame on him was probably what Robert Sarver said when Donald Sterling was found out. That's a problem. So what I'm saying is you have 30 leagues in the NBA that all are existing in this, and maybe 30 leagues in the NFL, maybe 30 leagues in the NHL, like all the leagues teams, and all these teams, all the teams,
all these teams is what I mean.
Yeah.
Is that every single one of them could be held to account. All sorts of your major businesses, your tech companies, your oil field companies, your bank companies, all of these entities at high position of power. But to actually have that sway and motion to actually make suitable change, I just don't think is realistic. And maybe that is, narcissistic or however you want to look at it. I think it's just mute. It's a mute point.
What, the fact that it's happening? It's not.
Well, the fact that it permeates and exists all throughout our society, and I don't think that this particular incident is going to create any congruency of a blanket of change amongst, say, a league like that. Which is why, NBA.
Oh my goodness, which is why they have to either walk out again, or something like when the murder of George Floyd happened. That was monumental. Like. It stopped. The world stopped for that because of what happened. And there's no way that we can just allow like the effects of that not to permeate into how, because I think people have recognized that it is the system that needs to change. And if the system is constantly retroactive or reactive to these things happening, then the system is still broken. And I know that Adam Silver is behind making sure that this system is healthy and thriving. And yes, his boss are the board of governors, which are all the owners, but his responsibility for the owners, the fans, and the players is to ensure that this thing is done right, and so that the NBA does have a lasting impact, and that we aren't constantly going, oh yeah, well, we knew about this 10 years ago and didn't do anything about it.
I don't disagree with you on any of this. I don't disagree with you on any of this at all. I just don't think that's I don't think this particular incident, noting how, there's a lot of just a collecting of data that happens, I think, in the world today. And you have, when you have individuals that are on the spotlight, or in these positions of power or whatnot, and people can go in and kind of build, say, an 8-month or a year-long investigation, this acclamation of intel, and then be able to distribute it, and how it becomes interpreted or whatnot. And especially it's a lot of he said, she said in regards to, again, you don't have that definitive proof that you had with Sterling that could make such a swathing shift of movement there, right? That hadn't happened, I don't know, like in other leagues. There's probably been an instance of it, but I in a long time since my exposure to sports, had I seen an incident where, they just plucked an owner off a team, like they did in that regard, which was justifiably so. But I think a lot of these owners, what I'm saying with like all this gathering of information and how it's being portrayed in regards to the Sarver incident, and everybody, it's crazy, everybody that is quote unquote known Sarver has always usually talked about him in a very negative light. Like, this is just a person who's not a very, good person. He's not a good, intentioned individual.
What happens to him? What should happen to him?
Well, there's going to be, like I said, I think a third-party investigation, or if there's not, there should be one. I think that's most important, so that there's no collusion of, some other internal benefit, that this is objectively done and everything's taken into account. And then I think all, either you fine this guy to such a degree where he's just like, I'm out, and he leaves the, like, I don't know. You probably put him in an instance where you try to push him out of, you encourage him to push him out of his position of owner of the Suns.
Yeah, I don't see this privileged guy doing that.
Well, and that's the crazy thing, is this is a type of guy too who likes to draw the line in the sand and put his foot in the ground. And so I don't know, man. I'm really fascinated how Adam Silver handles this. Out of
that's what I'm thinking too.
Out of any commissioner in any league in North America, Adam Silver is definitely the most progressive, the most understanding, gratuitous,
and risk taker. Remember when he stood up for Daryl Morey?
Yeah. You know what?
It was a huge risk, because China's a massive market, massive money, massive
tons
fandom,
of money. And do you think businesses like Disney, these large entities that have relations with China would have done something similar in that situation? I don't believe it.
I hope that a company specifically like Disney would reprimand
don't even
the
get me started
actions
on
and
Disney.
behaviors of racism.
Well, I would hope so too, but I would not be surprised if there were some massive skeletons in that closet.
But it does take that part of it. It does take those major companies that do back a lot of the league itself to be able to have the balls to say that this is wrong too, because those are the kinds of steps that, it's unfortunate that it takes that kind of power and pressure to do something like that, but it is on those companies, and it is on the league itself to ensure that it is a role model moving forward.
One of the biggest things that I took away from this experience was the importance in this particular regard with Robert Sarver is this employer-employee relationship. And they're so needed one another for each other to be successful. It doesn't go just one way.
You're talking the players and the owner?
The players and the owner. I'm talking about even more so the employees that work for Robert Sarver in the office that see him on a regular basis, that withstand his hurtful, mean, dehumanizing comments. He just say things with like such selfishness and disregard. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I just remember things that it made it feel like these particular people. Actually, there's one instance. So I was listening to this podcast with he used to play for the Suns. Yeah, he used to guard Kobe Bryant with Raja Bell. Raja played for the Suns for a number of years, and like he wasn't necessarily like a star in the league, but he was he was a great 3-point shooter, an incredible defender. He played, he played a role on a team, and he was really one of the best in the league at that. Your JJ Redick-esque, but way better defender. Just incredible, guy when you needed him. Anyways, I digress. He was talking about the story in this podcast when he was working on the Suns, and he had lunch with his agent and Robert Sarver, and he was asking for a raise. So he just, was having a really good season. The guys were doing really, really well. Nash, all those guys together, they were having a great year, and he wasn't asking for anything like out of water. It was a pretty like realistic raise, but it was a good raise, good extension. He thought that the team could make it happen, make an accommodation, and felt like that's what he was deserving for the team that they had. So he has lunch with Sarver, and it gets to this conversation where, Raja brings it up, and he's like, I'd like a raise, and goes on very like just such a humble dude, like very genuine, straight guy. And Sarver just like midway, he's like eating his salad. He's like, no, I'm not going to give you the raise. And you know what? It could have just stopped there. Like, I'm not, and whatever his reasons were or whatnot, and it could just been one thing. And there's still this like mutual respect for like the human of each other. But then Sarver goes and continues on. I can't believe this. He says to Roger Bell, he's like, and do you want to know why?
Oh God.
I'm not gonna give you the raise, the extension that you're asking for. And so Roger's like, why? Well, he's sitting there, having lunch, and his agent's right beside him. And Sarver, just without skipping a beat, is like, because I don't have to.
Because you're gonna stay, or just what?
Because just because I don't have to.
Oh,
I don't have to give you like, just, it says it in a way that just really dehumanizes you. Like it makes that relationship, and it's the power of it. And that idea of the employer and the employee, whether it was Raja Bell in that scenario as a player, or those staff members, I just feel that the huge learning curve I learned from this, I hope every other owner in the league learn from this experience, is take better care of your employees and have a better communication relationship with each other. Get to know each other, know who you're working for. The people that are working for you, that, have that income for their livelihood, want to be working in a good environment where they feel safe and confident, and
where they can come to you and say, I deserve to be paid more. And I don't think he said I deserve to either. I think he'd probably just said,
whether it's that, or even just some level of encouragement to feel like my worth and investment, I'm a part of something here.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think about Amazon and Jeff Bezos, and all of those issues when COVID happened. I watched this on it was like a 60 Minutes or something, and it was like about there was COVID epidemics happening in all these Amazon warehouses because everyone was too congested and closed in, and all these conversations started to unravel about these horrendous working conditions in these Amazon warehouses. There's absolute no regard Jeff Bezos has for his employees. It's utter bullshit. It's utter and straight bullshit. And we support this guy to shoot a rocket, spending more fuel up into space. And then he covers it up by having an arena called Climate Pledge Arena, but he's one of the most providers of carbon in the atmosphere. And we're supporting this guy who's like treating this horrible relationship. Well, in that particular instance, we have power. We can make a different change. Maybe, what you're asking for all these other owners to really take into account this Sarver incident is, let's hold all these other MFers to account as fans, as people that buy their jerseys, go to their games, talk about the team. If we on these podcasts, we can voice like our displeasure. Like, come on, guys. All those organizations. I hope, for love of God, our Boston Celtics and Toronto Raptors. I know our Raptors organization. I have faith. I mean, way up at top with Rogers, that's a different story. And we talked about that before. But, our guys, are good, genuine people that care about their employees, So we need more of that. And you know what? I do have faith, even though I was like really negative early on in this pod. I do have faith that over time we it's been a grind and a slog, but we're moving in a direction. And I think, we continue to move in that direction. With that direction, there's improvement and change and growth. And this is another opportunity where we can all look at ourselves and find an opportunity for growth. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done,
for sure. I mean, my last take on this is just, I want to know that, there has to be, but I want to know that there's better policies in place for the league to ensure that these owners are also held accountable. There's fines, there are certain rules, players have to be in, specific COVID protocol. There's so many things that the players have to do to ensure that they are keeping themselves healthy for the league, but also employees to ensure that they're, and I'm not just talking COVID, I'm talking like just a safe work environment. And so at the very beginning, we were talking about is they're going to be more looked into the other owners. And I truly, truly hope that is the next step here. And I'm not looking for a witch hunt either. I'm looking for people to be held accountable. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yep.
The Ordinary Podcasting Network is excited to announce that we have launched a merch store on our website. The store is full of ordinary swag, including t-shirts, hoodies, and hats. You can pick out something awesome and support your favorite podcast today by heading over to ordinarypodcasts.com. All right.
All right, let's change the subject. Let's talk about some ballers balling.
First question for you:
Okay.
the Lakers or the Lackers?
So I'm presuming that the Lakers are like the golden boys.
The Lakers are what I predicted to be in the finals.
The finals. And right now you're seeing a bunch of lackers.
I'm seeing a bunch of lackers.
Well,
and the other
hey,
thing I'm seeing, not only are they lacking,
AD dropped like 36 last night.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Where's the rest of the lackers?
Yeah, well,
I'll tell you where one of them is.
Where?
Sidelined, because he's
I know.
getting old. And no, I'm not saying
Dude,
he's done.
knock on wood.
I'm not saying he's past any prime.
Knock on wood.
I'm just saying that this is the first time, though, Chris, we have seen LeBron out for an extended period of time. He is an Iron Man. He is. When you now, part of this is probably because he spends $2 million on his body and keeping it in peak physical performance shape. But this isn't going to work if they're all in the hospital.
Okay. You know what? I think part LeBron, I'm starting to realize this, planned that he wasn't going to be around much this season. And so having Westbrook on the team, hey, I get a player who's just going to rack up a bunch of wins for me in the regular season, get me to the playoffs.
And what's happening?
Well, he's having a hard time figuring out what the hell he should be doing on this team. That's what I honestly feel. And I know it's still early, but what even blows my mind even more, and I know also it's still early and not sustainable, is who is this Carmelo Anthony, like dropping 27 points last night? This guy is like the second best player on the team without LeBron there.
So they're like what, 4 games back of first. I mean, again, we're really early, but the trend that we're seeing right now is not favorable. Has Russ ever played with a dominant big like AD? Has that ever happened in his career? Because I don't think KD constitutes that, and I don't think they ever really had, like, they had Perk.
Well, he had Steven Adams, his rim runner, and you know what?
Yeah, but a different player than AD. Much different.
Yeah, exactly. Much different player. And he does really well, I think, with rim running. I wish him and AD would unlock that more.
So what does that start at? Pick and rolls, top there, or
just do some pick and roll, simple pick and rolls?
I think the other thing too that Russ is finding is that because AD is down low so much, it clogs that lane up. Like, the slashing that Russ is used to. I mean, this is why he doesn't fit right now, but he fits the scheme that the Raptors have. It's that high pace, run and gun, transition kind of offense. I mean, the Lakers are basically a stand and shoot team, and then there's AD to do all of the other things.
Yep. Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, exactly. And I see too many times Russell Westbrook at the top of the key, or off kind of on the angle, and he's dribbling the ball and he's kind of going in and out, and he just does not find a comfortable place. And then he'll go and throw it away. Somebody throws it right back to him and he's shooting this jumper that's just awkward. And it's just not what he feels comfortable doing. And you got to find ways to unlock this guy, just to get him into the game. And then once you get him in the game, then rest on the loins of some of these like outburst benefits you get of like in transition, play great defense, just keep racking up quick points in transition. Russ loves to do that. Mm-hmm. I think it's still early. LeBron is going to coast, I feel, in and out of this season.
So Bron's out until what, next week? They said like a week with a oblique strain or something.
Yeah.
Which is a very vague injury.
All of this seems relatively vague. Even when he had his high ankle sprain, like, yeah, it's a high ankle sprain, but like he re-aggravated something with his ankle. Was that even earlier in the season, but they weren't really specific as if it was from his injury that he had previous. He didn't want to allude that like this is still a a consistent kind of ache that LeBron just has. Oh man.
It's too bad.
I pray, man. I just pray he just keeps on keeping on, and it's gonna be just surreal, dude, to witness. I wasn't ready for it when it happened to Kobe. I was not ready. And that kind of rocked my world. This would really rock my world.
I don't think the end is nigh for LeBron, but we are going to see a new version if he's in and out. I'm sure the Lakers are feeling pretty tense right about now because everything is focused around making sure that that's another championship team. Oh boy. So the Lakers or the Lackers?
I'm going to say right now, the Lackers, even though they had a great night last night, I'm not feeling very, very confident. The other thing, again, Anthony Davis, stop hitting the floor, dude. Stop hitting the floor.
Because you're going to be sitting next to LeBron.
Yes. And that is not LeBron doing this. You know, he doesn't want to, but it's kind of part of the plan, sort of.
AD's like, I came to LA to play with you. If you're just going to sit on the bench, then fuck it. I'll just come sit on the bench with you.
Yeah. So like play some Xbox or something. Like, fuck, dude. No. Like, stay up.
Yeah. Well, that would be, I mean, and he's a lot younger too. So ensuring that he stays healthy is very important for that team's future post LeBron.
Yeah, dude.
All right.
Yep.
Let's talk about this big fiasco that went down in the Heat and the Nuggets game. So this is in one corner. In one corner, you've got 7 foot tall. He's Serbian, right? Serbian giant.
Yeah.
Nikola Jokic, the reigning MVP, versus in the other corner, the entire Miami Heat. And I only say that because I saw a photo today after this incident happened of the entire Miami Heat team waiting outside of the locker room for Jokic.
Dude, I would have peed myself. That was one of the scariest photos.
And you know who's on that team? Lowry.
Yeah.
Butler.
Did you see Lowry standing there with everybody?
Adebayo. These guys are flipping scary, man. You don't want to step in the way of these guys.
So much emotion.
Well, they're they're very passionate. And two, now the crux of all this, Jokic took a pretty cheap, quite a cheap shot at Morris. What was it, Marcus or Markieff? Markieff is.
If it was Marcus, it would have been a brawl. I feel Markieff is more the chill brother.
Well, here's the thing: if he didn't really get, because I do think he got the wind knocked about and like some serious whiplash there. If it wasn't that bad, Markieff would probably be up and in that guy's face.
Oh, for sure.
Because it didn't happen.
I would.
The entire Miami Heat team. We're ready to throw fists with Jokic. What are your thoughts here, bud?
Did you see Jimmy Butler in the video? Like there was like some shots of him, and it looked like he was like yelling over, talking to,
"Come here, fight me."
Yeah. I felt like he was like, outside. We're gonna meet you out there. We'll meet you out there. We're gonna
one
fight
of those
in the schoolyard. 3:15.
So why did Jokic do that though? Like I know the Morris brothers can be, notoriously a little chippy, but.
Did you see the play right before? So it all started. There might have been something baseline where I don't know if Jokic was involved with that, and then Markieff I think was kind of upset, and maybe that's right. A guy got kind of physically altered off the ball by Jokic, and a foul wasn't called at the baseline of the hoop. So Jokic is coming back through. And Markieff seen that, and he was pissed because his guy didn't get fouled. So he fouls Jokic hard and kind of hits him like under the arm.
Yeah.
And Jokic is a massive dude, right? So he kind of stumbled a few steps. And then, he was in the heat of the moment, and Nikola was like, F this. And then as Markieff was walking away, and I don't even know, maybe Markieff said something to him too. These guys, they always say shit to each other. So he just came up and pushed just the most insane shoulder arm
from behind.
Oh yeah, from behind. Did not even see it coming. Which that is cheap. That's really cheap and unsafe. Very unsafe. And it's good to see Markieff wasn't bang his head on the court or really injure himself. I do agree with you. I think he was really knocked out. You could see how his arms were kind of clenched together. It felt like it was just a lot of kind of compression, tense
Yeah, this is
Probably
like a
just
7 foot,
knocked out.
300-pound man pushing you.
Yeah, and you went flying. You went
Yeah.
flying.
Yeah.
So like the people, like the announcers that were announcing that game, their reaction was just like such shock.
Yeah, but
Because
they'd be surprised.
it was such, such big movement. And yeah, man, like you gotta love the Heat culture. You gotta love those guys. That's an amazing team, amazing group of guys. I love those guys. I love rooting for them. Their passion, and you don't usually see that from Jokic either. So I'm hyped that I think this is going to be like a, circle, mark the date for the next Nuggets Heat game, because that's going to be a fun one to watch.
Jeez, and like just to hear that the Jokic brothers got involved on social media. And
the Jokic brothers scare me, dude. The Jokic brothers are scary.
Tall
Man.
trees.
Yeah,
can you imagine if they got into the UFC? That'd be freaky. So just going back to this though, Jokic will likely be suspended for his actions, probably fined.
Probably maybe. Well, yeah, probably a game. We haven't heard anything yet.
Yeah, it's dangerous. We don't want that in the game, especially from a guy who dropped 25 points, 15 rebounds, and 10 assists in that game to win it.
That's
so. We can't have that. Man. We can't have that. Yeah, it's gonna be fun to see that rematch. It's gonna be very fun to see how that goes down. And I also think that this kind of plays into the Miami Heat band of brothers. Like this team, I think, will really be able to use that as momentum.
This team scares me in the playoffs. I'm not gonna lie. I was just thinking this. I don't think there's another team in the league other than the Miami Heat that has more resolve. Like the players, I think, have such resolve within themselves. Robinson's been through adversity. Hero's been through adversity. Like all of these guys, have a chip on their shoulder. And anytime somebody like no one can tell them no. Lowry, all the experiences he's been through, Butler, these guys will overcome. Now, do they have the talent and the skill to maybe beat some of these better teams come playoff time, the Brooklyn Nets? Do I think they can beat Philly? I think they can whoop Philly's butt. Right now, especially with no Ben Simmons, they don't stand a chance. The only two teams, I think the Milwaukee Bucks and the Brooklyn Nets are the only two that I think, are the favorites and have a shot to make the finals. But I think Miami, it's going to be a tall order for them. But I do think that they could, in those long series, fight it out and maybe get the upper hand on these guys, and we could see them in the finals. Like that would not surprise me.
Yeah, I think a thing that could definitely help them is the trade deadline. I think once that rolls around, they might be able to add a piece that could really make it harder for Milwaukee and Brooklyn.
Dude, you know what? We're not even freaking talking about, and I always forget our guy.
We have so many guys.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
He's been injured forever.
Forever.
He was
Victor
Oladipo. Victor Oladipo, man. I think, dude, like if he comes back and he's good, like holy crap, this team, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of scared. Of Miami Heat.
It's fun. It's fun for Eric Spoelstra, I'm sure, because he had like three of the best players in the world at the time, and was winning, and then all of a sudden he was stuck with like, Haslam and Chalmers.
Chalmers. Mario Chalmers. Don't get me started about Mario Chalmers.
But then Tyler Hero came around and he really started impressing people. Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo turned into like one of the best centers, versatile players, probably a bit of a unicorn. And then Jimmy Butler goes there. And then Kyle Lowry goes there. So they've really set themselves up nicely. Pat Riley, I mean, he's a legend. He knows what he's doing, and he's going to do it again. And he's going to keep doing it again until he just can't anymore. So yeah, kudos to Miami, and watch out to the Denver Nuggets, because that rematch is going to be primetime television.
Okay, and there's one more guy I want to talk about before we're done here.
Hit me.
We gotta shout out Steph Curry.
Shout out.
dropping
$50.
50 points
Holy
against a guy who the media, when it was first drafting, was like, this guy's Steph Curry. Draft him. And Atlanta was like, okay, instead of going, for Luka Doncic. But, it's a pretty good consolation prize in Trae Young. And it was funny. Candace Parker, I think she said before the game.
She nailed it.
Yeah, dude.
So she predicted, right? She predicted he was going to get
50 points, because she said this exact reason, that because of Trae Young and that team, Steph was going to make a statement, and he made a statement, and he's incredible. The Golden State Warriors are 9-1. They're the best team in the Western Conference. That's another team I'm terrified of. Wow.
I was right. Steph is not slowing down.
It's amazing.
And once Clay gets back,
I can't wait.
Yeah. No, and again, another organization that has been through championship winning, knowing how to pull the stops to make sure that they can get back there again. And what's nice for the Golden State Warriors is they have a lot of their pieces still in place. Yeah, you don't have KD, but you got Iguodala back. I know.
Yep. They got a bunch of young assets, the good contributors, your deep team.
You got a guy that's possibly most improved to start the season in Jordan Poole. Yeah, it's going to be special. It's going to be a really special team, and they could definitely come back to win another one. So we'll leave it there. Thanks, bud. You want to do it again next week?
Sounds great. Let's do it.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in the Backyard Basketball Podcast. We'll hit you up again next week. Peace.
Liquid smoke.